Welcome to the Mortgage Broker Podcast, tailor-made for Canadian mortgage industry professionals. Proudly presented by A Better Way Mortgage Group, this podcast is your trusted source for insider insights, market updates, and strategies to elevate your career in the ever-evolving world of mortgage brokering. Whether you're a seasoned broker with A Better Way Mortgage Group or an industry enthusiast looking to stay ahead, our episodes are designed to empower you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the Canadian mortgage space. All right, we're back for another episode of the Mortgage Broker Podcast, and today's a special one. It's the last one of the year, our first year running this show, and it's been a really successful year, I would say, from a perspective of the information that we wanted to put out to the information. The whole purpose of this show was to provide more education for brokers in the industry, help brokers grow and do more business, or ultimately find more of a balance in their business. We've had some great guests throughout the year, and we got some really cool stuff that we want to look forward to in 2025 that we'll certainly be teasing throughout this show. But the whole purpose of this show is just really to do a look back. So this is more of a look back on what we achieved in the show, the Mortgage Broker Podcast, versus a look back on what occurred in the industry, and that's certainly something we'll touch on in the early part of the new year, is just looking back on just what occurred this year. It was a busy year, and we'll start right away just with just some of the acknowledgments I wanted to start with. First and foremost, we've had really good feedback from our listeners this year, and that's honestly probably the best part about this, and the reason why we want to keep doing this is just that ongoing support from you, the listeners, giving us the feedback, touching on some of the topics that you want to touch on. The listener feedback section that we've had throughout the show it is really just a contribution from you, and we want that to keep coming. So if there's anything you want us to touch on or go deeper on, or guests that you want us to feature, certainly reach out. Continue to do that. It means it definitely means a lot to us. So we appreciate that. So now, just looking forward into this episode, we're going to touch on some of the educational series. We will recap the perfect loan process, the Behind the Broker series, some of the key industry trends and regulatory insights and updates, the community initiatives that we had throughout the year, and then again we'll touch on looking ahead in 2025. So I'll pass it off to Derek. Derek and Jason are here with us today, and why don't we touch on just a bit of a recap on the perfect loan process series. That was by far our most engaged and listened to series. We obviously went deeper there than anything else, and actually had a full 7 episodes, 7 sessions on that segment. So why don't we start there?
Yeah, the perfect loan process was actually something that we, for anyone that hasn't listened to these episodes, it was something that we worked on personally in our book of business, Thrive, and we started it about 5 years ago. And we wanted to break that down, train on it, and actually going into 2025, we're going to have a lot of hands-on training for our Better Way brokers for anyone that wants to implement this into their business. But the podcast is a really good introductory into the perfect loan process that we built for our business. It worked really well, extremely efficient. Again, it's broken into 7 different episodes, ranging from the very first interaction with the client all the way to funding and post-fund activities. And again, as brokers, there's so many different ways to process a file, to communicate with the client, and we've just found that you have to have a consistent, streamlined process in order to create efficiency and essentially grow long term. So if you haven't checked out that series, I strongly suggest it. And again, for anyone that's with A Better Way, we're going to have some really deep hands-on training on this exact topic going into 2025.
Yeah, I mean, there was some really good stuff there. Obviously, we went deep with the resource page, so we have a dedicated course to this entire series. And in and amongst the video and the podcast episodes, there's detailed written summaries of everything that we chatted about and discussed in detail on each of those segments, and more so the resources, so the templates, the email templates, the scripts, just all the tools that we utilize to implement that process are there to make it easy for you to implement. And with that, any insights or anything that you kind of gleaned, Jason, from that whole series?
Well, it's kind of cool for me because, you guys built this perfect loan process into your personal production business. And, I was kind of introduced to it just this year as we've been going through it. And, obviously with a brokerage our size, we have a lot of brokers talking to us about, how do I re-identify my business and how do I create a better flow, more process, more systems, all of that. And I think it's extremely topical now coming out of a not so busy market and moving into what we expect to be, a pretty robust 2 or 3 years coming up. So I think, for me, kind of learning about this and having a bunch of conversations, this is one of the most talked about things, I think, is how do I implement a new process into my business moving forward into the busy season? So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, I would definitely suggest looking into it. I've learned a ton myself about it, and we have implemented it with some of our brokers. And, to both your guys' points, we're going to put a lot more emphasis on this moving into 2025 and really kind of streamline this for our group. So I'm excited to see the results of what come of that. And it's been pretty neat to see it unfold.
Yeah. So again, just to wrap that piece up, like, of course, there's so much there, and it is really hard to implement some of this stuff. We've had feedback where, it's really hard for me to just listen, watch, and then implement. And we, understanding that everyone learns and implements things differently based on their own personalities. And again, reason why we want to go deeper. So if you're somebody that found, you were very interested or intrigued by that series, and it's something you do want to implement in your business, definitely reach out and we can start that conversation, because it is something we're going to be focused on, to Jason's point, quite seriously. And again, just to get away from some of the noise, a lot of the push in the industry is like strategy on, whether it's marketing or finding more business and doing all these things to grow your business. Well, I always want to just go back to that perfect loan process and that foundation of having that in your business. It's crucial to have that foundation before going crazy on the marketing side of things. Of course, you need to constantly be bringing in a business, and you can never forget about sales and marketing, but really, taking care of home and that foundation is so important. So again, that was definitely our most important series or allotment of episodes in the year. What was considered our most streamed allotment of episodes was the Behind the Broker series. And this was towards the end of the year. We had the pleasure of interviewing Vic Sahi first, Alex D'Angelo, and Kelly Mann in our most recent episodes. Hands down, the most streamed episodes of the year. And it showed us that it's definitely something we need to continue to do, and we're going to continue to feature brokers that have something unique to share. These folks were certainly top producers, certainly had unique, transition into the industry, and again, like it's really cool to be able to showcase top brokers, but more so getting into their success stories, their challenges, and their unique strategies, because they all had something different to share. And again, we have more of that coming, and really looking forward to that. So, why don't we just dive into, a couple of the takeaways there? Maybe Derek, you can take that away.
I was just going to touch on, I really enjoyed these, and I'm excited for the future episodes. But since we took over A Better Way a couple of years ago, we've been going back and forth on ideas as to how we could highlight our brokers and what they're good at, and how we could be more collaborative, without constantly trying to get people on a Zoom call or have everyone in the same room. So the podcast has been a really good resource for that. And again, if you haven't checked out these episodes, these are some absolute killer brokers that have been doing it for a very long time. Different situations in every single episode, banker to broker, you name it. If you're new to the industry, or even if you're a seasoned vet, there's a lot of good takeaways in these episodes. And it's just a really cool culture piece for A Better Way, because we're all about our brokers. We have such a collaborative culture, and this is just proof is in the pudding of that. Some of our top brokers are more than happy to jump on here and share their tactics and tricks.
Yeah, I know we started doing this, I guess later into 2024, and quite honestly, it's been the most enjoyable sessions that we've done, is being able to talk and engage with some of our brokers. I mean, to Derek's point, there's a good mix. I mean, Vic Sahi is still relatively new in his career, but he's dialed in his process, and he's kind of doing what he's doing to grow, and going from being Rookie of the Year into him wanting to be one of the top brokers, not only only in a better way, but within the industry. And then looking at Kelly Mann, who's, I forget exactly how long she said she's been in the industry for, but I know it was 20 plus years and a lot of different roles throughout her tenure. So, kind of looking at that. And then Alex D'Angelo, who's in my mind, one of the kind of funniest, easygoing guys, but he's just really dialed in a way to execute good relationships with his clients that are going to serve him for life as a broker. So you kind of get a mix of everything. And one of the common themes that we've come across in every episode that we've done is a lot of our top producing brokers like Vic and Kelly and Alex, they're just willing to share. And if we can kind of listen to their success stories and maybe pull a couple things out of what everyone's doing and implement that into our business, I think it's great. And I, to Derek's, what Derek said is I'm really looking forward to expanding on this and, getting brokers from all different walks and all different, tenured points to share what they're doing to be successful.
Yeah. I mean, great points. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is just, now that there's 3 behind us was starting to see some of the trends that are, consistent throughout each of those. And like what we definitely saw come up in these first 3, and I'm curious to see if this changes, but just the building of your network and having strong networks and the strong connection, the strong human connection was really what came out the most in each of those episodes of how each of those folks have such strong connections. And again, I'm really curious to kind of see where that goes. And the success of this series has actually got us to thinking, and we haven't agreed on this yet, but the idea of maybe doing more than an episode every 2 weeks and having just a dedicated feature on Behind the Brokers every 2 weeks to give us that every week commitment. Again, we haven't, I know I'm getting a few eye rolls here, but not something we've agreed on yet, but definitely something we're considering.
Well, one other piece that I found was pretty neat is all 3 individuals that were involved in this Behind the Broker, they all reached out to us after saying that brokers had reached out to them wanting to sit down and meet with them and pick their brain on some things. So that people are listening and they're actively engaged and they're kind of wanting to take tidbits. And I know our group our group is willing to share with stuff like that. And I think that's kind of neat that we're out kind of presenting the things that we're doing, and we're having the broker industry at large reaching out to their peers saying, hey, like I'd love to learn a little bit more. So they speak well, they share well so far, and I'm looking forward to continued episodes on this.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, again, and like to Derek, what Derek mentioned is just the collaborative culture that is here at A Better Way, and it is made up of folks just like this, and there is so many of them, and there is so many more to come. And again, like there could be a really cool feature to come back to some of these folks and go deeper on certain items that really resonated in those shows. So I mean, it's just some good impactful takeaways there that we're looking forward to doing much more of that going forward. Maybe not the most fun topic, but just kind of moving on into just some of the industry trends and insights that we had throughout the year. Episode 20 with the FINTRAC compliance with Dave Teixeira obviously sticks out. Again, not the most fun topic, but probably the most important show or topic of the year, hands down. We'll go a little deeper on that, but again, if you haven't listened to that show and you are, maybe falling behind on compliance or FINTRAC or what that's all about, I would definitely touch on that one. Some of the economic shifts, we of course touch on, inflation trends and in bond yields and market insights. It wasn't really a big focus of our show last year, but, we touched on it throughout, and it's something that we'll definitely focus more on going forward. We actually have some really interesting guests that will be featured in the new year that, we'll start to go a little bit deeper in some of those topics. Technology in mortgage brokering was common throughout almost every episode. It seemed like we were a broken record when it came to CRM or, different tools for marketing. Submission softwares was obviously a big piece. Gold rush came up constantly. I know that word is, played out to the nth degree at this point, but, there's some cool stuff coming there. It's something we will revisit. Without being able to say too much, there are some pretty cool improvements coming to some of the major technology platforms that we're aware of, and there will be some really exciting announcements coming in the new year on technology, and we're definitely going to be covering that closely. And then I think one of the most notable episodes, which was our last episode, was business planning for 2025. It was a major focus for us in the last month here. It always is. Business planning is something we take very seriously. We just completed a really great training session internally with our team and Craig Vetter. Craig Vetter is actually a business coach that will be featured in an episode in the new year, and he's been helping our team business plan and just the importance of that and building out now accountable, actionable tips and strategies there. So definitely definitely a great piece altogether, and something I would definitely recommend going back to. And if you're in a Better Way agent, looking at the training recording that we have on the agent intranet to catch up on that and start planning right away. Moving on, Behind the Lender. It's a series. We only did one episode with the Behind the Lender series last year. It's something we are for sure going to be focusing on in the new year. Derek and Jason actually took that episode with Home Trust. Maybe you guys can take that away and just touch on that and our plans for the new year, going deeper on that topic.
Yeah, I mean, lenders are such an integral part of our business. Why not learn a little bit more about behind the scenes, how lenders operate, if there's any changes coming, how they're navigating them. As we've all seen over the last, 5-10 years in our industry, there are constant regulation changes. So I just think these will be great episodes that will give you more context into the people that you might not be familiar with. We're ideally, going to be talking to business development managers as well as executives from these banks, just to give a bit of a different scope into the partners that we actively work with in our business. So we're really excited for those. And if anyone has any suggestions for lenders that you guys would like to see on the show, please do let us know.
Yeah, great. I mean, great point. I mean, we sat down for our first one with Pierre Martin from Home Trust, and he definitely works hard behind the scenes at that EVP level. And many brokers, probably a lot of them don't know Pierre or kind of who he is or what he does. So it's kind of neat for us to be able to put a personality behind the name and all that. And I could speak about Pierre is he's an awesome guy. I've known him in the past, and it was really good to sit down and talk to him and hear his viewpoints on things and trends and what Home Trust is looking to do. So I think going forward, this is going to be a pretty cool series where you can get to know some people at kind of behind the scenes that you wouldn't know or have be able to put a personality behind.
The cool piece with that series and where we can go really deep is just the depth of these lending institutions and how much is really going on behind the scenes from all sorts of roles. Whether you look at Pierre and his his trajectory throughout his career, and then you look at somebody at maybe a BDM level, or versus a leader like a Damon Knights running Equitable as the president. Like there's so many different aspects, and the way their day-to-day functions is very different than the other at the same company. And so it's going to be kind of cool to go deeper, not just with the one lender, but multiple folks at those lenders. So looking forward to that. Obviously what comes to mind is just policies, programs, but actually even deeper is like from a leadership perspective and leading teams and back to processes and systems. Like banks and lenders and major companies do that better than anyone. So and they have to, just given the size of their staff. So it'll be cool to get kind of really go deeper there, and looking forward to that. Some of the charity initiatives that we had, I mean, Backpack Buddies is obviously top of mind. That's a big focus for us. Will be next year. Anyone that has a charity or wants to talk about a charity or something that they've done that's been unique in the industry. We had the pleasure of taking part in a hockey game that was for a charity this year. It wasn't something that we talked about on the show, but it was a very similar focus from food scarcity, but just in a different area than just kids in that particular charity. And again, the whole concept was playing a hockey game with brokers versus lenders. We're definitely going to be doing more of that, looking for more engagement on that. So if anyone has something or wants to talk about something specific, definitely reach out. There's actually there's a bowling game coming up in January that some of the lenders are putting on. I'm actually part of the committee organizing it, and just stuff like that. Like we do want to focus on that. It is such an important part of our business and just our lives to take care of those sorts of things. So we will be focusing on that going forward. some of the cool stuff that we did throughout the year was just around the masterminds, and then going back to our Ascend event, the Ascend conference. We actually recorded the broker panel. It's a far more lengthy episode than than what we were used to, because we actually recorded the entire broker panel. There's actually some familiar faces on that panel that you would recognize from the Behind the Broker series with Vic and Kelly. Definitely something I would highly recommend checking out. It was definitely one of the most talked about episodes that we had. It was one of the earlier episodes. So if you are a recent listener, I would go back to to the early parts of the year. I believe that was episode 4 or 5. I don't have that note in front of me, but check that out. Really, really strong episode. Yeah, and just looking to wrap up, and we'll start off with just the vision for 2025. And we've been embedded pieces of vision for 2025 in this show, but maybe we can just kind of focus on what does 2025 look like from more than just a perspective of this show, but just the industry as a whole. Maybe Jason, you can take that away.
Yeah, I think a lot of the vision pieces and kind of what we're planning for was gone through in the business planning session that we did with our group last week. But the with where the market's been this year, and the banks being competitive, and from pricing and all of that, it's how are we looking at alternative lending strategies? Perhaps kind of, moving off of just A business and strategizing to go onto the B side. What niche markets can we play in? I know reverse mortgages have been very topical now. So, how are we kind of building that into our portfolio? So a lot of just kind of different avenues on where we can potentially generate new business and also work that business with some of our referral partners. And then I think one of the most important ones, especially going forward, is client retention methods. I mean, this has been beaten up with CRMs and all that, but I mean, it is one of the most important things that we should be talking about right now, given the renewal wave that's coming into the Canadian mortgage space over the next 3 years. Retention methods for our clients is definitely something that we have to be focused on this year, and putting strategies and implementing those strategies. We can talk about all of these great things, and really what it boils down to is planning it, having accountability, and actioning it. But I think for what we're looking to do next year, and what we've gone through in our business planning, I'm very excited to see what's going to happen for our team and the market in general.
I couldn't agree more. It is an exciting year, and just rolling into some of the final reflections of this show and this year, being able to celebrate the growth and the achievements in 2024. It was certainly a great last 2 quarters of 2024 from a market perspective. Celebrating the growth of this podcast has been great for us, because it's gratifying. I mean, it's a lot of work to go and put these, put the content together for these shows, but to get the feedback from you, it's been very much a collaborative approach from that perspective, whether it's the guests or just the listener feedback. It's what's helped shape this show. So we obviously can't thank you enough for that. And that's just, I would say a call to action for more. Keep it coming, keep reaching out. We want that continued engagement. It's what's going to help us, what motivate us to keep doing this show. So appreciate that. And I think where I'll wrap up is just what we have to come in 2025. It's been a rough couple of years, to say the least, from a market perspective. Again, like what we've seen in this last quarter has been very strong numbers, and that's leading into the new year. We talked about this many times, going back to the Gold Rush episode, what's to come in the next 3 years. We have a whole whack of mortgages coming up for renewal. We have a whole ton of people that need help. We have rates coming down. There's a lot of opportunity to do a lot of business here. So, the opportunity is definitely knocking on the door for those that are prepared. And if you're feeling unprepared, I mean, you're at the right spot if you're listening to this now. Continue listening, continue, trying to learn more. And yeah, we have great year ahead, and a lot to look forward to. So thanks for listening, and have a great one. Thank you for tuning in. If you found value in this show, please subscribe to our channel on your preferred platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Your support is incredibly appreciated. We also welcome your reviews and feedback, which are crucial in helping us deliver outstanding educational content. Feel free to share your thoughts. A 5-star review would be fantastic if you think we earned it. Lastly, a vital announcement about Backpack Buddies, our chosen charity for 2024. This remarkable organization addresses a hidden hunger hunger issue many are unaware of. In British Columbia, while school districts provide meals during school hours, numerous children face food scarcity at home, particularly during weekends. Backpack Buddy steps in to support these vulnerable children, ensuring they have easy to prepare, familiar food for weekends. This is achieved through collaborations with schools and an extensive distribution network. Your contribution can make a significant difference. With just $20, you can give a child in need a food bag from Backpack Buddies filled with enough meals and snacks to sustain them over the weekend and more. Once again, thank you for listening and see you on the next one.